There are a lot of activities going on in our industry at the moment. As we all know, there are three major transactions underway. ChemChina's acquisition of Syngenta, Dow DuPont's merger, and of course Bayer's acquisition of Monsanto. There has been a lot written and talked about these acquisitions over the past several months, and they certainly look like they're all going to become reality, but of course we know we're in the midst of an antitrust review in each of those three cases. But all of the indications we're getting are that the reviews are going well, and I think the speculation is that all three transactions will eventually get approved. If any one of these transactions had occurred singularly, in other words, just one at a time, probably it would have been a much simpler process. But the fact that all three of these are occurring simultaneously has, I think, raised the bar on the antitrust review and caused the various regulatory agencies to take a deeper look at each one of these and try to determine what the cumulative impact will be on not only the seed industry, but on consumers in general, and whether farmers and other consumers will either benefit from or be somehow negatively affected by these transactions. So just the fact that they're all three occurring at one time is taking longer and causing a more significant look into each of these transactions. Well, as you know, Syngenta has a significant vegetable seed business. I think it's a very successful one. I think it's a stable one. And in the case of ChemChina, they do not have vegetable seed. So we would not expect there to be any sort of fallout as a result of that transaction, nor would there be any sort of antitrust concern resulting from it. Neither Dow nor DuPont have vegetable seeds in their business portfolios. So similarly, we would not expect an issue to be created by that merger. Now, in the case of the Bayer acquisition of Monsanto, that's a different situation. Both of those companies have significant vegetable seed businesses. We know Monsanto is the #1 vegetable seed company in the world in terms of market share. Bayer has a very significant vegetable seed business, and so it's likely that the combination of those two businesses will create some sort of antitrust concern. And typically, when you look at vegetable seeds, the antitrust agencies look at that on the basis of species by geography. So we would not expect there to be a wholesale divestiture of either the Bayer vegetable seed business or the Monsanto business, but more likely it could result in the spin-off of a certain species in a certain geography. And so I think that's the way the antitrust agencies typically look at vegetable seed transactions, and that's certainly what Verdant's expectation is in this case. Currently, we are in the midst of the antitrust review in each of these three transactions. I think those are now advancing along quite nicely, as I understand it. And our expectation is that we're going to hear the conclusion of at least some of those reviews by late this spring, early this summer, to the point where at least a couple of the transactions may get approved toward the end of the second quarter or the beginning of the third quarter. And I think those two would most likely be the Syngenta and the Dow DuPont transaction, simply because they are more advanced. They've been going through this process a bit longer, and in many ways they're probably simpler transactions with less overlap. So in both of those cases, I would not be surprised to see regulatory approval occur mid-year with closure of those transactions later this year. In the case of the Bayer-Monsanto transaction, that's clearly a more complex transaction with more overlaps, more antitrust concern. So I think it's going to take a bit longer for that to all be sorted out and completed. So to answer your question, I think 2017 will still be a relatively calm year in terms of how it is impacted by these mergers and acquisitions. I think what's more likely is that we'll start to see the impact of these mergers in 2018 and even 2019. First of all, if there are regulatory mandated spinoffs, those will have to occur about the time that these transactions close or soon after that. And so that's why I don't expect any significant level of activity to occur until late this year, early next year. After the antitrust mandated spinoffs, then the next phase of activity could be what I call strategic spinoffs, where once these deals close, the companies come together and actually start planning for their own future. They may look at these combined operations and see some overlaps that just are not strategically important to them or that create inefficiencies, and so they make a conscious decision to spin off either certain crops or business units or perhaps certain geographies. And so I think that's more likely to occur in 2018 or 2019. Good question. I think it's the three things that we commonly see as the success factors in most companies, and that's product performance, customer service, and consistently strong management. Companies with good performing products, in our case, strong genetics, strong trait performance, that's obviously key to success with customers. But when you combine that with strong levels and consistent levels of customer service, very important. So obviously companies who only have good products but poor customer service are not successful. The reverse is true also. So when you combine both of those factors, you typically find the better performing companies in our industry. And then the third thing is just good, consistent, high quality management attention to the business. So all three of those factors are usually present in the most successful companies in our industry, and I think we'll continue to see that be the case in the future.